Good evening, Prestonwood students. How are we doing tonight? Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Can I just be honest with y'all for a minute? Is that all right? Yeah. No, okay, cool. So there's a couple of things that I don't understand. A couple of things, and I'm gonna need a little help. I get it. It might just be because I'm old. But this is a serious question. This isn't in my notes. This is just because I'm curious, right? I don't understand, and I can't wrap my head around this idea of, everyone with me? Of my friend is going to the restroom, so I have to join them. Like, are they gonna get lost? I am so concerned. I'm like so concerned for this reason. Here we go. Let's focus back. I promise y'all, I thought this was like a girl thing, but like it happened 4 times with guys tonight. And like, I'm so confused and I'm concerned because I don't know how. And this is the follow-up question. So if you have the correct answer to this, I need you to come talk to me after midweek because this is the reason I'm concerned. How do you use the restroom at home when your friends aren't there? Like I don't get it. So I'm gonna need a couple of y'all to come as we're watching basketball, as we're eating nachos, as we're eating cake. I'm gonna need y'all to come explain this to me because I guess I'm just old. I guess I don't know. But anywho, I do have a couple other questions for you that actually I did input into the message. And so the first one is, here we go. Everybody focus in. Who is it? Like this is introspective. I guess we don't really need to share with the people to our left and our right. Who is it that has the most influence on your life? Don't need you to say it. Need you to think about it. Who is it that has the most influence on your life? Is it a podcast? Is it a TV show? Is it a specific music? Is it the person sitting to your left, to your right? Like, who is it that has the most influence on your life? The next question I have for you, it follows, but it's a little bit of a left turn. What motivates you to do the things that you do? Ooh, we're thinking deep. I love the church answer. I love that. And if that's true, that's great. But if I'm being honest in a room this size, and if I'm being honest about my own life, that isn't always the case, right? Like Jesus isn't always the thing that motivates all of my actions, although I strive towards that, right? So the question is, what motivates you to do what you do? Okay, this one I need a little bit of help with, all right? So y'all loved the very first question of the night. This one I need a little bit of help with like I had on that first one. What makes someone a good friend? They go to the bathroom with you. I quit. I'm going home. Come on, shout out a couple answers. Communication, they're nice. Yes, Andre. Friends, yes. They give you money, loyalty. I heard, yes, Grace. They tell you the truth. Pardon? Helpful, yes, George. They read the Bible daily, yes. Okay, so tonight, yes, Samuel, last one. They play Clash Royale, yes, last one. They hold you accountable, good stuff. All right, so I know you're wondering, what are we doing here? Why is there a chair on stage? And we'll get to that later. So we are going to be in Psalm chapter 40. So go ahead, flip open your Bible to Psalm chapter 40. Our main point for tonight is that Jesus is the ultimate friend. Jesus is the ultimate friend. So as you flip over to Psalm chapter 40, I just feel like I have to share with y'all again whenever I think of friends, there's a lot of different seasons in my life whenever I look at a bunch of different friends, right? And whenever I was in junior high and high school, I had a category of what made someone a good friend, right? Or how I could be a good friend. That's the one we're gonna focus on. And so because I had a skewed version definition of what love was when I was in junior high and high school, my view of what a friend was also was very different. And so what a friend was someone that was helpful to me. Maybe it was to encourage me, maybe it was to help me with something, or if I was going to be able to help someone or provide something, then I could be their friend. It was someone who was going to be there for me whenever things were difficult. A friend was someone, those were like the primary ones. Like if they were helpful to me, or if they could provide something, or I could provide something to them, and if they were going to be there with me when there was a difficult time. Now, thankfully, those aren't all of the requirements to be a friend. And if I look back now, so I jump forward, that was junior high and high school. If I make it to college, and I just want to help y'all, because the only reason that I can stand up here and tell y'all about what a friend is because I've learned what they're not, right? The only reason I can get up here and tell you what a friend is because I've studied the Bible, and it tells us, it has some helpful outlines for what a friend is. And so whenever I'm up here, I just want y'all to not make the same mistake that I made, right? Like this old man standing on the stage has gone before you. He's messed up. He's had experiences with bad friends, and I just want you to avoid that. Like I want you to enjoy everything that the Lord has for you without having to go through all the heartache and heartbreak and the pain and all of the fun things. So Psalm chapter 40, verses 1, 2, and 3, we're going to go ahead and read all three of them, and we're going to pull all three of our points for tonight out of those, and we're going to springboard into an example of them. So our first point being a friend is compassionate, our second point being a friend is driven to action, and our third point being a friend shows us a better life. So don't worry, I'm going to repeat them, don't worry, but Psalm chapter 40, verse 1. I waited, this is David, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of my miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God, and many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. So the first point tonight is that a friend is compassionate. A friend is compassionate. And we get that from verse 1. He literally says, talking about the Lord, he inclined to me and he heard my cry. So we can see what a good friend is because the Lord meets us in that. We can see what a good friend is whenever we look at Luke chapter 10 and we see a couple of not good friends and then a good friend. And what I like, and I'm about to read Luke chapter 10, so if you want to flip over to that, there you can. But what I like about this is that the quality of a friend isn't dependent on the duration of the friendship. The quality of a friend isn't dependent on the duration of the friendship. And we see that right here because a friendship was made pretty much instantly. Luke chapter 10, verses 30 through 33 say, Jesus replied, a man was going down. Most of you, if you've flipped over into your Bible, you're going to recognize this. This is the story of the Good Samaritan, right? Like this person was saying, hey, what do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. What do I need to do? You need to love everyone as your neighbor. And he very quickly says, what is your neighbor? And Jesus replied saying, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Ugh. Like I told y'all what I thought a good friend was, like a friend who's going to be there for me in a hard time. Like that's what this dude was needing. He was needing a friend who was going to be there for him in a difficult time. And the very first person who definitely he thought should have been a friend, a priest. Now by chance, a priest was going down the road, and when he saw him, he went to the other side. That's not a good friend, right? Like a friend wouldn't make an excuse to avoid a difficult situation with you. Someone said they tell the truth, right? Like they go into the difficult times and they meet you there. Verse 32 says, so likewise a Levite, who they also would have held in high regard, he would have been awesome. When he came to the place, he saw me pass by on the other side. Verse 33, but a Samaritan, the scriptures would tell you, and if we look and we did a deep dive, they would say the Samaritans are less than, they are kind of outliers, they're not going to do the right thing. As he journeyed, he came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He had compassion. And that compassion drove him to action. And so if you look at the next couple of verses, you're going to see that Samaritan met him in his need. He saw him heartbroken. He saw him quite literally on the verge of death. He put him in a hotel, and he was willing to sacrifice his own needs to be able to help this person. And so a friend is compassionate. And compassion isn't this idea of whatever you're going through, I'm going to affirm and just say you're right and kind of give this like toxic level of empathy. But a friend is going to be compassionate. They're going to see you where you're at. They're going to see the difficult that you're going in, and they're going to sit in there with you. You see, if we look all the way back to the book of Job, we see some friends that do some really good stuff in the first couple of verses, first couple of chapters. Job is going through it. He's having a difficult time, has lost everything, his friends, his family, his wealth, his health. He's lost everything. And some friends travel from very, very far and sit with him. And then as soon as they open their mouth, they start doing things wrong. But a friend meets you in a moment of compassion. And so the question I have for you with this first point is, are you that friend? Are you compassionate? Or are you just hard, hey, figure it out. You'll be all right. My life's more tough than yours. Or whenever you hear of someone who's struggling, do you meet them with that compassion? Do you see the difficult thing going on in their life? Do you get down there with them? Do you get down on your knee? Do you help them up? Do you embrace them with a hug? Are you willing to sacrifice your comfort? Are you willing to sacrifice your status? Are you willing to sacrifice things so that you can help someone else? I told you one of the things that I really liked, and this is a parable, but I love that the quality of friendship, like everyone else walked by this guy, right? Maybe his closest friends didn't know he was there, right? But what I love is that there was a random person who met him in his deepest time of need, and they instantly became close. So, point number 2 is a friend is driven to action. Now this one kind of piggybacks right on it, right? Like we just talked about compassion, how you're sacrificing, how you're doing these things. But a friend is driven to action. So whenever I see something wrong, like I want to jump in, right? Like whenever I see my children, whom I would call my friends, right? Like I need some more friends so y'all can help me out. My kids are fantastic, but I view them as my friends. I view them as my children. And one of the things, like whenever I see something bad about to happen to them, should I just let them do it? Right? Like if one of my closest friends is telling me, hey, I really want to do this, and I'm going to do it, and it's going to be something that ends up being bad for him, am I a good friend if I just go for it? You got it. Right? Like, no, like I'm a good friend whenever I'm driven to action. Back there we had someone say a friend holds people accountable. We heard someone say a friend is trustworthy, right? And so a friend is driven to action. And this is a really important part in verse 2 of chapter 40 of Psalm chapter 40. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. Jesus, the ultimate friend, was compassionate towards David. He heard his cry. He met him in that need. And in the middle of his darkest time, in the middle of all of his stench and dirtiness and sin, he looked at him and he picked him up and he put him on solid ground. And whenever he put him on solid ground, we see that he was driven to action, making his steps secure. It would have been so much easier to say, hey, you figure it out, David. You got it, David. And we see this again in Luke chapter 5. Luke chapter 5 tells us this in verse 18 and 19. And behold, some men were bringing on a bed a man who was paralyzed. Like some of us have friends in our life that are in desperate need of something. Some of them that might be a physical disability. Some of that might be emotional support that they might need. Some of them, they have no idea who Jesus is, and so they need spiritual support. They need someone to come alongside of them and carry them to where they need to be. And so we see in this story some friends that have a close friend who is in dire need. They were paralyzed, and they were seeking to bring him and lay him before Jesus. But finding no way to bring him in because of the crowd, they went up on top of the roof, and they let him down with his bed through the tiles in the midst before Jesus. Their friend had a dire need. And it would have been much easier for them to come and visit Jesus and for them to come to church, for them to get a good message, for them to have a worship experience, for them to encounter Jesus and to feel really good as they left on Wednesday night or on Sunday morning. It would have been really easy for them to go and do that, and it would have been perfectly fine. But because they had a friend in need, they were unwilling to do that. And they were going to go to whatever extent possible in order to get their friend to experience what he needed. Now, all of our friends need something very different, right? Like my friends need something than your friends need. But I have some friends who need to know who Jesus is. And I have some friends who are going through some pretty tough emotional times. I have some friends whose relationships are in shambles. I have some friends who have some physical needs because I have some family members who are sick, who have cancer. I have so many different people in my life who need to be ministered by me in some form or fashion. And so I would meet them with compassion, and that would be driven to action. And so we continue in verse 3 of Psalm 40 with our third point: a friend shows us a better life. A friend shows us a better life. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Gosh. Students, like this idea of showing a better life, it means that we have to have correct understanding on what a better life is, right? So if we're sitting here and we think, man, the world is just offering us the best life possible, that partying, that hanging out, that social media, that relationships, that doing all of those things are the best thing that we can offer, then we're never going to make it to the level of a really, really good friend. And I can say that because I wasn't always a really good friend. I could say that because I've had people in my life who weren't really good friends. Because a good friend is going to show us a better life. So Luke chapter 8, verse 39 tells us this. It's a story of a man who was in a graveyard, who was possessed, who was in dire need of Jesus. Luke 8:39 is after Jesus healed them. It's after Jesus restored him. It's after Jesus was saying, hey, I'm showing you something so much better. So Luke chapter 8, verse 39 says, return to your home. This man was saying, hey, I want to follow you and I want to go do things, and I want my life to be more simple. I need to get out of where I'm at, and I need to just follow you wherever you go, King Jesus. And Jesus' response to him was, return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. And he went away. And he went away proclaiming throughout the whole city how much Jesus has done for him. A friend shows us a better life. That guy who was suffering, that guy who was struggling, that guy who had a very real encounter with Jesus, upon having a very real encounter with Jesus, went back and was telling everyone about him. And so he shows us a better life. And so whenever I think about what it means to be a good friend, there's a lot of different things that are now on my list. A truth teller, someone who's willing to hold me accountable, someone who's going to speak truth in my life regardless of how difficult it is, someone who's not just going to encourage me to do everything, not someone who's just going to hype me up in every single way, but instead someone who's going to look at me, who's going to filter the things that they say through the Bible and speak truth into my life. Someone who's going to be willing and bold enough and willing to say, hey, Jordan, that's not a good idea. Or, hey, Jordan, I see this sin in your life, and because of that, I want to encourage you to do this. Now, this gets really difficult, students, because we can believe a lie. We can believe a lie. We talked about believing that which world is better, if Jesus has more to offer than the world. But this specific thing is something that I think has such a grip on society right now and has such a grip in each one of our schools. And it's something that brings me to my knees. And genuinely, I can't mean this enough whenever I tell you that I pray for this. I pray that this would be something that isn't true about y'all frequently. And it's this idea that we can't talk about the things that are happening in our life. It's really easy for us to talk about having a bad day. It's really easy for us to talk about having a problem with our parent. It's really easy for us to talk about a bad grade. It's really easy for us to talk about a negative relationship. It's really easy for us to talk about that other person's problem. It's really easy for us to talk about all of these different things. But whenever it comes to you and whenever it comes to me sitting down and getting real and talking about all of the nasty things in our life, these lies begin to pop up in our head. And the lie that I'm most concerned about, one of the lies that I'm most concerned about, is the lie that you can't share that with that person. You can't share that with that person because they might hurt you. You can't share that with that person because they're going to use that against you. Students, if that's the case of the people in your life, you need to get new friends. Like period. Like whenever I get up here and I talk about dating, like I'll tell you, hey, you need to break up. Like, I'm not worried about that. And I look out tonight as we talk about friendships, and some of you need to get new friends. You might be sitting next to someone to your left and your right, and you still need a new friend, right? And so the reason that we can believe this lie, I think, and I could be wrong, you can come talk to me after. The reason that I think we can believe this lie is because that sin still has a hold of our life. The reason we can believe that lie, the reason we can say, oh, someone's going to use this against me is because that sin is still active in our life. Or because that sin hasn't been brought to the light and been crucified with Christ. Students, this isn't something that happens all of the time, right? Like we do not make it a practice of falling into obedience with James 5:16. We don't make it a practice of falling into scripture of 1 John 1:9 frequent enough. 1 John 1:9 tells us that if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us of all of our unrighteousness. Like Jesus wants you to be clean. James 5:16 says, we confess our sins to one another because the prayer of a righteous man availeth much, and that we can receive healing. Not spiritual healing, that's what 1 John 1:9 does. But we can find healing here on earth whenever we invite people in so that we can have accountability, so that we can experience the fruit of Ephesians chapter 5, which says, that which happens in the darkness when it's brought to light becomes a light, and says, awake, O sleeper, arise from the dead. You do not have to be defined by your sin. You do not have to be afraid of what happened last night. You do not have to be afraid of the things that have such a grip on your life that you think you're never going to find freedom from, because Jesus went to the cross so that you could have freedom. And so, as I wrap up, Jesus wants to be our friend. If we're looking at Jesus as the ultimate friend, if we're looking at a friend requires compassion, if we're looking at a friend is drawn to action, if we're looking at how a friend if we're looking at how a friend shows us a better life, like there's no better friend than Jesus. And so for some of us, we've just kind of been stiff-arming him, knowing he's a really good friend, but really liking the things in our life. Some of us have no idea who Jesus is, and we don't have a relationship with him. And so regardless of which group you might find yourself in, I want to give you an opportunity just to respond. And so I want everybody to bow your head, close your eyes, and I want us to sit for a couple of moments. We're not going to jump into the decision and jump into the next worship song, but I want to give you a moment to not be distracted by the person to your left or your right, students, but to close your eyes, to bow your head, arms not around each other. I want you to think back to the stage. There's a chair on the stage. I want you to envision from the very beginning, I asked who has the most influence in your life. I want you to set them on that chair in your mind. How would they respond to your sin? How would they respond to you needing help? How do they call you to a higher standard? So for some of you, that person isn't who needs to be there. Heads bowed, eyes closed. I believe y'all can do it. Some of you, if you're honest with yourself, the person who's on that chair right now, the most influential person in your life, isn't someone who points you to a better life. Isn't someone who meets you with compassion. Isn't someone who's willing to sacrifice anything for you. Students, I told you that my heart breaks because I don't want y'all to experience the same things that I've experienced. I don't want you to have to go through the pain and the suffering of bad friendships, bad relationships. Like, I want to help you get it right on the first time. I want you to find the people that are going to be willing to sit across from you at your life group and hold you accountable. I want you to find the people in your life group that you can confess your sin to without fear of them trying to judge you, without fear of them holding things over your head. And I want you to experience what freedom is. I want you to experience what freedom from sin looks like in such a way that you are not afraid of what anyone else knows about you because you've been forgiven for everything by King Jesus. That you wouldn't be worried about what the person to your left or your right thinks because you are so concerned about what King Jesus thinks about you. So everyone with your eyes closed, your head bowed, I'm going to ask a couple of different questions. And I just want you to raise your hand real big if that's you. Would you raise your hand really big, eyes closed, heads bowed? If you would just say tonight, hey, I need better friends in my life. Not a time to be messing around. Yeah. Up and down is great. Leaders all around the room are praying for you right now. It's not really a joke. Would you raise your hand really, really high if there is someone, you can put your hands down. Would you raise your hand really high if there's someone in your life who needs this type of friend right now? You can put your hands back down. Would you raise your hand if you would say, hey, I have friends like that? Yeah. Students, we can't be good friends apart from Jesus. Ultimately, the person on that chair should be a really good friend who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to be moved towards you for compassion, more concerned about you than they are about everything going on in their life at times. Someone who's going to be moved to action, who's going to call you to a higher standard. Someone who is not going to see you going in the wrong direction and just allow you to go, and someone who is going to point you to a better life. And there's no better person than Jesus. So while we desperately need good friends here on earth, Hebrews 12 tells us that therefore, since you've been surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, the expectation is that we have great people around us. That doesn't begin to happen without a relationship with Jesus. And so someone in this room, I'm confident that in the midst of your isolation, in the midst of your loneliness, in the midst of the hardest season of your life that's going on right now, you are looking for someone to turn to, and you've tried turning to a friend, you've tried turning to an adult, and none of it is satisfied, and it just keeps leaving you wanting more and more and more. And for you, I would tell you that Jesus is waiting. Psalm 40, verse 1, 2, and 3 says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me, and he heard my cry. He drew me out of the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise of our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. So for the person today who wants Jesus to come into their life, for the person today who says, I need a friend in Jesus, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. All eyes closed, heads bowed, we're almost done. I want you to just pray. I want you to cry out, as Psalm 40 says. I cried out to the Lord that I needed help. So just say, Lord, come help me. Lord, I need your help. I've been trying to do it on my own, and it's not working. Confess that he is Lord. God, I thank you for dying on the cross, for coming down and living a perfect life, from conquering death whenever you died on the cross and rose again. And God, would you be the king of my heart? God, would you take me out of the pit? Would you put me on solid ground? Would you give me a new song to sing? If that's you for the first time tonight and you've never prayed a prayer like that, you've never asked the Lord into your life, would you raise your hand real big for me? Well, over the next couple of moments, we're going to have a time of worship, and then we're going to go have a ton of fun in the high school lobby and watch basketball and all of the fun stuff that's about to happen. But over the next several moments, I want to give you an opportunity to respond. I want to give you an opportunity to bring your problems before the Lord, and I want y'all to leave your burdens at the altar. And so, as y'all stand, as I say the prayer, y'all can stand, and we're going to sing. And if you want to come pray with someone, we have leaders throughout the room that you can pray with. You can come and pray at the altar. But God, would you move in our heart tonight? Would you help us to trust you more? And would you help us to know what a good friend is and give us wisdom in choosing